The beginning of the film, a wounded girl, scared and panicked, runs through the forest and enters a house. The way she enters makes it seem like the house belongs to her. She quickly hides under the bed, visibly terrified. A woman is chasing her, knocking on the door and calling her out. Eventually, the door opens and Gayatri becomes even more frightened. However, the woman at the door is unable to find her and leaves. Gayatri sighs in relief, but only for a few seconds. Suddenly, a demonic hand grabs her mouth, and in the next moment, an unseen force drags her back into the forest. The scene cuts to a chess game between two people. We can see the man, but not the woman he is playing against. The man remarks that Miss Gayatri is highly professional in her work, and expresses uncertainty about how long it will take for everything to be over. The unseen woman advises him to be patient. Frustrated, the man questions how much patience is needed, reminding her that he has already been waiting for 20 years. True meaning behind their conversation remains a mystery. The scene then shifts to a young woman named Devi, who is extremely poor. To sustain her household, she works as an internet service provider. Her mother is mentally unstable, and Devi spends most of her time taking care of her. Her mother constantly warns her that one day they will come for her, harm her, and take her away. Devi hugs her and reassures her that no one is coming. She reminds her mother that she has been saying this since her childhood, but no one has ever come for them and no one ever will. Devi's mother is also extremely worried about her brother, Seena. Out of concern, Devi calls him and asks where he is. Seena lies, saying he is with his boss, Dharam, working the night shift. In reality, he is with his boss's wife, engaging in an affair for money. But that night, his secret is exposed. His boss's wife informs him that their affair has been discovered. When Seena returns home, Devi scolds him. His late-night arrivals always worsen their mother's health. The next morning, Devi goes to work, installing an internet connection at the police station. However, the inspector refuses her service because he holds a grudge. Seena had an affair with his wife, and the inspector takes his anger out on Devi. That night, while Devi is sleeping beside her mother, she senses a shadow behind her curtains. She goes outside to check but finds no one. Suddenly, two masked men break into the house. One man ties Devi up while the other tortures her mother right before her eyes. Then, Seena's boss calls the intruders, asking about Seena. They tells him that he is not home. This moment, Devi realizes that whatever is happening is because of Seena. Dharam orders his men to kill Seena's mother if he is not there so that he understands the consequences of his actions. The men drown Devi's mother in the bathtub, killing her while Devi watches in horror, powerless to stop it. The next morning, the police arrive, but the inspector, who is Seena's boss, covers everything up, ensuring no case is filed. Dharam walks away free, but Devi and Seena's lives are destroyed. Devi, furious, blames Seena for their mother's death and wants him out of the house, but she knows she has no one else to rely on. That night, while looking through her mother's old belongings, she finds an old photograph. To her shock, her father, whom they had not seen in years, is in the picture. Even more shocking, he is the same man, Mr. Agan, seen at the start of the movie playing chess with an unknown woman. Just then, the room's lights flicker. Devi feels an eerie presence behind her. When she turns around, she sees her mother sitting there. But her mother had already died. The lights come back, and the apparition vanishes, making Devi think she imagined it. The next morning, Devi and Seena's father, Mr. Agan, comes to take them home. Devi refuses to go with him, angry that he abandoned them years ago, leaving them to suffer. However, Seena insists that they must leave because after everything that has happened, they have no money, no mother, and he has lost his job. For now, Mr. Agan leaves but tells Seena to convince his sister and he will come back to take them with him. That night, Devi hears the sound of running water. Thinking Seena left the tap open, she goes to turn it off, but then hears another tap running in the bathroom. Along with the sound of water, she hears her mother's terrified voice calling out for help. When she opens the bathroom door, she sees her mother's dead body floating in the bathtub. Suddenly, a demonic version of her mother grabs her face, screaming for help. Devi screams and then wakes up. It was all a nightmare. Hearing her scream, Seena comes in and insists that they cannot stay in this house. It is filled with her mother's memories. They need to leave. Devi, now deeply disturbed, agrees. The next morning, Mr. Agan arrives again. This time, Devi and Seena silently pack their belongings and leave with him. They reach his grand estate, where he introduces them to Auntie Esty, the housemaid, and their grandmother, Miss Gayatri, the same woman who was seen in the beginning of the movie. During dinner, Gayatri explains that in their family only the women lead the business. She tells Devi that after me she will take over. That night, Seena explores the house and finds a secret room filled with eerie pictures, some of which have crosses marked over women's faces. Suddenly, a door behind him begins knocking violently. Before he can open it, Esty stops him and tells him that this is his grandmother's secret room and it must never be opened. While listening to music, Devi suddenly hears a whisper within the song. Frightened, she turns off her music box. Looking towards her window, she sees a figure. Upon closer inspection, she realizes it's her mother. Her face is wounded and terrifying. She convinces herself it's just her imagination and hides under a blanket. However, when she peeks again, she sees her mother's grotesquely twisted body slowly walking toward her. Terrified, she covers her eyes, but when she looks again, her mother is right next to her bed. The scene ends with Devi's blood-curdling scream. The next morning, Gayatri takes Devi and Seena to their family farmhouse. She introduces Devi to the family business, cattle farming. For the first time, Devi witnesses the slaughter of a cow. Shocked, she hallucinates, imagining her mother lying in the cow's place with a knife slicing her throat and blood gushing out. Overwhelmed, Devi begins vomiting. Gayatri and Esty help her recover. Later, Gayatri introduces Devi to Mr. Jaka, who manages the business and is tasked with explaining everything to her. While reviewing reports, Jaka mentions that the business has been suffering losses for the past few years. Curious about the farm's history, Devi reads through its records and discovers something shocking. Gayatri has been managing the business since 1935. This raises the question, how is she still alive? She doesn't look over 100 years old. Meanwhile, inside the house, Gayatri and Esty discuss something suspicious. Esty tells Gayatri that ever since Devi and Seena arrived, the cattle farm has been thriving, but Gayatri's health has been deteriorating. Esty insists they shouldn't delay the inheritance process any longer. Seena, overhearing this conversation, starts to feel something is off. He rushes to Devi and tells her about their grandmother's failing health and strange discussions about inheritance. However, Devi dismisses his concerns, saying she's over 100 years old. She must be sick. Old people talk about things like this. Seena leaves but later notices their father secretly meeting with the factory manager. Meanwhile, Devi goes to the kitchen to make tea. As she prepares it, she hears strange whispering from the window. When she looks outside, she sees her mother again. This time, she is so terrified that she screams. Suddenly, Esty appears behind her, startling her further. Esty reassures Devi and asks what happened, but Devi doesn't reveal anything. Instead, she questions Esty about Gayatri running the business since 1935. Esty, shocked, asks her about the source of the news and Devi responds that Jaka told her that. Esty warns her not to believe everything she hears, saying, "Many people are jealous of your grandmother, your father, and our business. They spread rumors." Esty then rushes to Gayatri and tells her that they don't have time. Jaka and Agan have started their plan. They have already waited 20 years. Now it is time to act. Gayatri, however, insists that she needs 2 more days. Meanwhile, Jaka learns that Gayatri has planned a special event to celebrate her children's arrival. Alarmed, he immediately calls Agan to warn him that Gayatri and Esty are preparing for something sinister. Later, Agan picks up Seena from the factory. He hands him the car keys and tells him that he can drive the car and that he has left something for him in the trunk, but he must open it tomorrow, not today. However, before that, he must promise him something. The scene cuts, and at home, Devi, while brushing her teeth, notices a dark figure standing behind her in the bathroom. Panicked, she turns around but only finds Esty, who tells her that her grandmother wants to see her. Meanwhile, Agan and Esty begin another chess match. Gayatri has an intense conversation with Devi, discussing her habits and music preferences. She even plays a song and dances with her, making Devi feel at ease. However, suddenly, Gayatri collapses. Side, we see Agan lose the chess match to Esty. Esty rushes to Gayatri's room, finding her unconscious. She and Devi put her to bed. When Devi asks what happened, Esty explains that she is sick. Overexertion makes her collapse. Esty then tells Devi that after Gayatri passes, she will inherit everything: the family, the business, and the responsibility. In the next scene, Jaka meets Agan again and carries a mysterious box. Jaka asks why there is sudden urgency. Agan responds that everything is changing and the cattle farm has been flourishing since his children arrived. He then reveals the horrifying truth that his mother Gayatri is possessed by a demon. This is the movie's biggest twist. The entity that Devi had been seeing wasn't just a hallucination, it was real. The demon has existed in the family for generations, always possessing the eldest woman. It had been living inside Gayatri and now needed a new host, Devi. This was why Gayatri and Esty kept insisting that Devi inherit the family legacy. Ever since Devi arrived, Gayatri's health had worsened because the demon was consuming her from within. It needed a new, younger body, Devi's. While Esty was Gayatri's accomplice in this ritual, Agan and Jaka wanted to stop it. Agan, desperate to save his children, brings home the secret box. Inside is an ancient, mystical dagger, along with old photographs of him and his mother. Crying, he prepares to kill his possessed mother to end the demon's cycle. However, before he can act, Esty ambushes him, stabbing him in the neck and killing him. She then drags his lifeless body away. The next morning, Jaka arrives for his scheduled meeting with Agan, only to find his body hanging from the ceiling, staged as a suicide. However, there are knife marks on his neck, suggesting murder. The rest of the staff rushes in, seeing Jaka near the body and assuming he is the killer. Jaka flees for his life. Meanwhile, Seena and Devi return, only to find their father's dead body. Devastated, they haven't even recovered from their mother's death. And now their father is gone too. Seena, completely shattered, tells Devi that they need to leave, but she refuses and insists that they are not going anywhere. Seena tries to convince her that something is terribly wrong, but Devi doesn't listen. Just then, Esty arrives and falsely tells Seena that Jaka is responsible for Agan's death. While Seena tries to process everything, he receives a message from an unknown number instructing him to meet alone at the slaughterhouse. Later, Devi sits in her room, sobbing while holding her parents' photo. Suddenly, she hears her mother's voice. Looking up, she sees her mother sitting peacefully on the sofa. Overcome with emotion, Devi runs to her, holding her hand and resting her head in her lap, only for the horrifying truth to be revealed. It wasn't her mother. Devi had unknowingly placed her head on the lap of the demon that sought to possess her. Meanwhile, Seena arrives at the slaughterhouse, where Jaka tries to explain everything. But before he can reveal the full truth, Seena, believing Jaka killed his father, stabs him. Jaka lies dying. He utters his last words, telling Seena to open the trunk. This triggers Seena's memory of his father's final request. Rushing home, Seena opens the trunk and finds a book titled The Prophet Inheritance. Details the family's dark past and the ritual that has been practiced for generations. The book also reveals a horrifying fact. After the ritual is completed, the male heir must be sacrificed. The scene shifts to Devi, who anxiously approaches Gayatri and tells her that she feels like she is losing her mind. She says that she keeps seeing her mother and that sometimes she appears terrifying while at other times she looks calm. Gayatri interrupts and asks if she wants to meet her mother. She tells Devi that she knows a ritual that will allow her to see her again but warns that it will be painful. Devi does not hesitate and tells her that she does not care and only wants to see her mother. Gayatri takes out a knife and cuts her own hand before instructing Devi to do the same. Devi follows the instructions and cuts her hand. Once the wounds are made, Gayatri clasps Devi's hand. Side, Seena reads about the ritual in an ancient book. The book explains that the ritual allows an entity to transfer from one body to another, and only begins when a new female heir in the family is ready to inherit the legacy. Seena realizes that his sister's life is in danger. The book reveals that after the ritual is complete, the male heir must be sacrificed. However, he does not care about his own life but is determined to save Devi. He does not know that it is already too late. Seena searches for Devi but does not find her in her room. He rushes to another room and sees her unconscious in a pool of blood. He panics and picks her up before trying to escape from the house. Before he can reach the car, Esty ambushes him and strikes his head, knocking him unconscious. When they regain consciousness, both of them are dressed in white. Esty is also wearing the same clothes. She reveals that she was never on their side and had always served the demon. She had spent her life preparing for this moment and needed to sacrifice Seena for the ritual to be completed. Devi remains dazed and does not understand what is happening. She looks up and sees Esty holding a knife. Esty approaches Seena and slits his throat. She collects his blood in a glass and forces Devi to drink it. Devi looks around and sees that she is surrounded by women from her family. They had all performed the same ritual in the past and had become servants of the demon. The entity had enslaved them for generations. Esty begins chanting. Gayatri takes the form of Devi's mother. Devi looks at her and becomes emotionally weak. A dark smoke appears and enters her body. The ritual is complete. The demon has fully possessed Devi. The movie ends with Devi, now transformed into the new host of the demon, marking the continuation of the cursed lineage. I hope you liked my video. If you did, please like and share it. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. We keep bringing such content regularly. Peace.